Synthwave. Redux. Part 2.
Welcome, Outrunners, City Cowboys and Girls, and everyone else. You are now on the edge with Johnny Voltaire. Synthwave Redux Part 2. This is about everyone, more so than the first one, because the first one was a little more focused on the artist. This really relates to all of us because it's about consumers. And basically, whether you listen to the music or you create it, you buy it, you write about it, you critique, you make a playlist, whatever the case may be, you have to consume it first. You know, before we go on, I do have a confession to make. I'm a streamer. Now, I don't mean gaming on YouTube or Twitch or Mixer. I mean, I stream music. One click, I'm at Spotify or iHeartRadio, Pandora, some stations on YouTube, and I can find new music. I can rediscover some old songs that I knew, or stumble upon some lost gems that I never heard before. Super convenient. Yet for these past few years, the way that we consume music has changed greatly. You know, the ownership of music is something you generally hear musicians talk about, because they create music and they want to own it, which is understandable. But how does the ownership of music relate to the consumers? You see, this is a conversation that I'm not so sure we're ready to have. I'm going to give it a shot. You see, I don't know how many of you were around in cyberspace around 1999, early 2000s, and there was this thing, it was a phenomenon, it was kind of popular. It was called file sharing. File sharing actually really dates back to the beginning of computers because they can read data and share data with each other. That's fine, ones and O's, right? In the early 2000s, that was a whole different beast. It went global. You see, back then it was kind of like the Wild West. You had programs like Kazaa, Napster, LimeWire, SoulSeek, and the like. And I know some of you had to reinstall your computers a few times from the stuff you got from them. That's besides the point. The way file sharing works is that basically one guy, you can start just with one, and he has a file that he wants to share. So he puts it up there available for anyone who wants it. Now if someone else gets that file, he can share it, or several people can start grabbing from the guy who's sharing. They grab from one another and it becomes this big domino effect of file sharing. Now everyone starts sharing from one another and you have this big holding hands across America and the world, but we're passing down files. And of course, when I say files, really what I mean is movies, TV shows, PDFs, documents, audio books, comic books, music. Actually, music set it all off with Napster. You see, now let me not implicate myself. I know when people downloaded files, it was very typical to get big collections. Like, let's say you heard a new song on the radio from your favorite artist, perhaps. All you had to do was type it up, and you could get it for free. Or you could get an old song, you could get an unreleased song, or you could get a rare song, or a live performance, or sometimes you could look up artists and get their entire discography right there. You know, or maybe the Billboard Top 100s, you know, we can get a little bit into the BitTorrent era. There were big collections of files also shared. You see, generally it was typical for things to get out of hand and for collections to grow very vast. And let's just talk about music for now. Maybe you went a little crazy with those top 100s or the Time Life collections. And you have a big library right now. We're talking gigabytes of music right there at the click of a button. Now, as you're going through this collection, you know, as we're wont to do, you want to find the good songs. You know, separate the wheat from the chaff and all that. So basically, you'll be zipping through these files and you find the good ones and you mark them or you put them in another folder and you kind of disregard the other ones or you just keep moving.
You see, it's normal when you have so many files available to you and so many things to go through that you kind of tune them out or you just don't pay as much attention to them as you normally would. There's always too much and you have to get to the next thing. There is always that fear of missing out. And it affects us in many things, but particularly here in this point with music.
Basically what I'm saying is things transformed into a more fast food-like pace for music. very easy come and easy go. We absorb it so fast, we're exposed to so much. What does this say about us and music in general? You see, the funny thing is, if you were around in real time when a lot of these songs were out, you know that sometimes songs have to grow on you. Or perhaps you hear a song, but you're not really into it because you're not in the mood for that kind of song. So you might just skip it. Or perhaps you kind of have to go through a certain set of circumstances or events in life for you to actually want to stop and hear this song. It might be a rare occasion, but it might be the perfect song. It really won't hit you the right way until you're really familiar with it and the time comes.
Music can be a very dynamic thing, and so are our emotions. So basically, when you have so much and you have to just keep going through it, it becomes kind of a slog and a chore. It's hard to enjoy music this way. There's just too much.
Now today, when I'm streaming music on my computer, I'll have it open in a tab. And in my browser, I have another tab open, and I'm doing something else while the music is playing. I'm not really listening to it, but it's there in the background. And I'm a musical person, so I enjoy having music around me a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. I know other people who are the same. Or maybe Spotify is playing on my phone, and I'm doing some chores over here. But again, I'm not really paying attention to the music. I'm kind of in a haze. I'm not sure how many of you can relate. Because you see, if I can date myself here just a little bit, when I was a child in the 80s and we had cassettes, some people might have had vinyl or 8-track, and CDs came later, but basically I would sit down in front of the stereo. I would have the cassette in the deck, and I would have the case in my hand, and I'd listen to the music, and I wasn't doing anything else. I was fully absorbed into it, and I was really in the moment. And I don't know if it's because there was like a physical connection or what, but I'm hearing the music, and I'm looking at the artwork, I'm reading the lyrics, I'm even poring over the linear notes, and really just enjoying the music. It has value to me. In fact, I listen to it over and over again. The same stuff. Crazy, right?
One thing that a lot of people do not take into account is the possibility that all of this streaming and easy access and disposable music has led to the disenfranchisement of the music fans, the consumers. A lot of people are going to outside sources than music to find entertainment. In other words, well, back in the day, it was super cool to, play out your cassettes maybe until it was worn out, or to spin your vinyl in certain times of the week. Every Sunday you have a record you like to play or whatever. And people are doing different things now. Their attention spans have splintered off. So yeah, you have Alexa play something in the background or Spotify, but again, you're not really listening to it. What people are doing now is going other places for entertainment. In other words, streaming is really popular. People like to watch other people play video games. People like to see kind of reality TV, but on YouTube. A lot of people have podcasts that they use to fill up the time. And this change has really affected the next generation. And music is kind of dying out. A lot of people are saying it, and well, you have to wonder why.
You see, I don't know if it's some kind of form of trickery or what, but the music meant more. Back then, it really did. Because for years exclusively, all I did was stream music. I didn't buy anything. And I didn't even pay for the subscription for services because I sat through the ads, but I realized something had to change. So when I'm streaming music now, and I hear a song that was kind of a classic for me or whatever, and I played it so many times in the past, or I stumble across a new song, and I'm really getting something out of it. I got some enjoyment, or it's really starting some kind of memory with me, or I'm feeling a certain way. Maybe I have to run it back a few times. Maybe some days pass, and I've got to hear it again. That's how I know. I will look up the song, I will buy it. It's usually about $1, sometimes even less. And I see it as kind of a tip. Like, thank you for making the music, perhaps make some more. Because when I go to a restaurant and I order food and I get great service, I leave a tip. It's no big deal. I don't break the bank. So as time goes on, I'm starting to amass a collection. And it's actually kind of modest, but I'm buying songs. And the strange thing is, when I go to this folder, songs that I bought, I already know right then that I have a connection to these songs because I felt strongly enough about them to buy it. And when I listen to these songs that I own, I actually sit down and listen to them.
This new trend of renting, borrowing, leasing music, it really kind of happened overnight, and it's something we just kind of quietly accepted. We had a very raucous period in the early 2000s where everyone was owning everything. And now we're on the flip side where nobody's really owning music, no one's really buying it as much. Things have changed.
You see, for those who listen to streaming services a lot, you'll notice that sometimes songs get taken out. Sometimes artists get pulled. Or sometimes maybe you're in an area where there's no Wi-Fi connection. Or maybe you pay for the subscription so you can hear it in an area with no connection. But by the end of the month, when that rent is due, your music is gone, unless you want to pay again. See, all of this renting and leasing and checking out of music, it's changed things. So if anyone really wants to kind of wonder where the joy of music went,
then you have to realize you're in this cycle of fast food music, and our consumption has kind of gone overboard. I don't see streaming services as evil. As I've said, I use them myself. But it has its limitations. And in a way, I see it as the new radio. A cheap, easy, no commitment kind of way to be exposed to new music. Or maybe sometimes check in on the oldies again. But if you remember, what you did back in the days is when you heard something you liked on the radio, you would go to the store and you'd mill over for about a half an hour maybe, and you would finally choose the one that you want, and you would buy it. You'd be eager to unwrap it in the car and couldn't wait to play it in the stereo, or maybe get home and put it in the system. It was a whole different vibe. When you assign value to something, it automatically means more to you. It means something. And that's what the power of ownership is.
when I have a physical copy around in the house, someone sees it, it's a reflection of me. It shows my taste. It's something to talk about. It's even something to share. It's mine. I own it. So who can really say? All I know is the ownership of music is a two-way street. I'm Johnny Voltaire, and this is my YouTube channel. There will also be a documentary series, a behind-the-scenes look at the man behind Voltaire. There will be movie reviews, there will be video games, there will be a few surprises as well. So hit subscribe, hit notifications. I'm Johnny Voltaire, and you've just been on the edge.